Good morning, everybody. Did you survive that storm yesterday? It missed me. We got rain, we got dreary skies, cloudy, grossness, mud, but did not get the snow they promised. Thank goodness. I saw a lot of pictures, people I'm friends with on Facebook from the Oklahoma City area. They had enough that they could make a baby snowman, like a miniature one. But not really what we were gearing up for. Sabrina said no storm in Arizona. Christina Alaska bringing the jokes. She wants to know if she should stay here or go watch a quilting video. Why not do both? One on the laptop, one on the phone. Christina, you're a multitasker. Nani made it in. April C's in the house. Hello, Karma. Karma, did you get any snow down there? I think it was in your area too. Blue Jean Baby, what's up? What is up? Hello, Celeste. Julesy made it in. Julesy is going to grab the link, hopefully. She has a really interesting theory. Speaking of interesting theories, where the hell has Jay Woody been? Jay Woody just came in and said good morning. Where have you been, Jay Woody? Court K made it in. Kimmo. Hello, I see you. How are you, honey? Mystified's in. It looks like we all are piling in. Deborah said it's snowing a bit in Detroit. I don't have socks on, but I have on my fuzzy Kansas City Chiefs jacket. It's very warm. Every day this week, I'm wearing some sort of Kansas City Chiefs attire until the game this weekend, which is not hard for me because pretty much any holiday, I get something Kansas City Chiefs. So it may not be a shirt. It might be a hair tie, a bracelet, or my shoes. My favorite shoes are Kansas City Chiefs shoes. Okay, CR got the snow. Fellow redhead, Mama K just made it in. Kat said she's sick. What's wrong, Kat? Kat didn't go to work because she's sick. Hey, Jessie Crib, what's up, girlfriend? What is going on? We have 2 shows today, guys. Of course, we're going to be talking about Bushy and the gang this morning. And by the gang, I mean his attorney and the experts on TV. I'm not referring to the victims. And when I say victims, I'm talking about Ethan, Xana, Kaylee, and Madison. So, of course, we're talking about them this morning. Then this afternoon, if you didn't see it, catch up sometime. Alana Raffield, it's a case out of Oklahoma. Her parents were on the show last month. The police are trying to say Alana died of suicide, but everything points to murder. So a member of their legal counsel is going to be on the show today at 1 o'clock. We have a lot to catch up on that case. So come back for that. And what a cool YouTube name. Or is this the real person? Nancy Grace. New to our community. Let's welcome Nancy Grace. If you grab the link, I'm going to make sure to put you up just with that name. Lockdown says she doesn't remember that case off the top of her head. You can Google it away. Hey, Glenjamin, what's up? What's up, Kelly Miller? Pink Butterfly, all our schools are closed today. Where are you at, hun? It's nasty out. It's nasty out. I saw a Boot Heel Sleuth. I guess it got slippery around her RV and she fell and hurt her back or something. I don't know if she's going to come in or not. I have no idea. MK made it back. Well, we got some people that we've missed the last couple weeks and came back. Hey, Tammy Crimes, what's up? ET Lady. ET Lady, yeah, just send me an email and I'll get you a new Discord link. I will. And remember, anything that goes wrong in Discord is 100% my fault. I thought I was making a joke yesterday, and I was the only one that got the joke. Hello, love codeine. Of course you, honey buns. All right, let's get to it. Got a lot of comments to go through. Destiny was in early. Destiny was the first one to say hi to everybody yesterday. As soon as I posted the show, Destiny was in here to chat. She was in here to chat. I said hi to her. She even knew that the show was for today, but she wanted to make sure to be the first one to say hi. I thought that was awesome. So of course the title of the show is Conflicts Everywhere. It broke across News Nation, CNN, Fox, whoever is talking about Bushy right now about the conflict of interest with his attorney. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about some other conflicts. Conflict, I hate to bring it up, but the conflicts with the roommates. I know that is a slippery slope to talk about on YouTube, but we can do it safely here. Going to talk about the conflict of the 8 hours and why all of the friends knew what was going on before the police were called. Going to talk about what brought Brian to Pullman, Washington. Why on earth did he decide to get his PhD in Washington? There's plenty of PhD programs in the Northeast. Plenty. So what do you think brought him to Washington? Did they set him up for free? I don't think so. I don't know. We're going to discuss that. Julesie's going to grab the link in a little bit because she has a really interesting theory. Love everybody's opinions. Love everybody's theories. So don't be shy. Let's go through some comments and then we're going to get to it. All right, I don't know who wanted the membership link, but there it is. Lisa Wilson. Now, this is after the show that we did, the last show we did about the murders at University of Idaho. Also, we had a show yesterday for Monkey Vaughn. If you missed it, go check it out. His mom was in chat. It was quite a show. All right, Lisa Wilson said, after the last show for Idaho, she said nobody could have stood the blood smell. She said, go gut just one deer. The blood smell is terrible. I don't need to gut a deer. I've smelled one. I've smelled it. I've been to butcher shops. Even with the AC cranked down to 58, you still smell blood. So let's talk about that. I would not be surprised if Dylan and Bethany got out of there and came back later. 8 hours is a long time. Now they say that Dylan froze in fear, but what about Bethany? We don't know that Bethany froze in fear. Your nose still works when you're in shock. Do you think it could be possible that the two of them said, we're getting the hell out of here? And then possibly got a hold of all the friends and said, look, you're never going to believe what went down there. Went back to the house and then called 911. Go to your local butcher shop. 58 degrees in there. You're going to smell something. Yep, I said it. Said, yep, I said it. And this YouTube name is Yep, I Said It. Said, why is Bushy's alibi not spoken about? Maybe I missed it, but what was his original alibi? I'm answering this because I had several comments about this, and it does need to be said. We haven't heard his defense. We don't know which way they're going to go yet. It's a long time till June, and not just because June is my birthday month, but because that's when the prelim is. What He's going to plead not guilty. We know that. They all do. They all do. Then we'll get an idea as to what his defense is, hands down. But no, I've never heard an alibi. I've never heard anything like that. Has anybody heard anything, a rumor in a Facebook group, Reddit, anything saying that where they believe Bushy was during this time? We know he was back in front of the house at 9:15 the next morning, or a few hours later, 5 hours later. Two Boston moms said, in my opinion, I think Bushy called in the food order for Xana to have the Uber driver there, the Doordash driver, there at the time of the murders. It can't be a coincidence that the order came at the almost exact time that Brian was there learning how to park and commit these disgusting acts. Therefore, he would have placed another person there at the time of the crime. That is why he asked if they arrested anyone else. His plan was to make it look like the driver was the one who did it, and he thought his plan would work and he would obviously get away with it. As for the no answer on the question box, he's trying to put other people in this case any way he can and to blame anyone he can. She said, all my opinion. Then she says, thanks, Brooks. I love your shows. I love you too, two Boston moms, and I love this comment. I have said for a while that I think the 911 calls for the noise complaints came from his ass. Ryan brought up a great point in Discord one day. She said, all this noise at the house, and there was not a call for a noise complaint that day, but they had all these other noise complaints. It was so loud in that house that the next door camera picked up the audio, but nobody called. So tell me, hit me. The probable cause does not tell us who the Doordash driver is. They redacted that name. They protected that person's identity. They did not protect Dylan's. They did not protect Bethany's. Do you think Bushy ordered the Jack in the Box for Xana? A lot happened at 4 a.m. Doordash got there. The dog learned to bark. Dylan woke up. The murders began. That's a lot of stuff that went down all at once. I'm sure I'm off by a few minutes, a few seconds, but you get my drift. Really interesting. Katie said, so I've had this on my mind. Dylan didn't necessarily describe Bushy to a T. She basically identified an average-sized man with a mask and bushy eyebrows. I realized his skin was covered, but it isn't like she saw a rare tattoo or anything like that. So I'm confused as to why the PCA even bothered to mention Dylan's statement due to them having plenty of other things to warrant an arrest. Because she says she saw him is the only thing I can think of. Help me out here. Why was Dylan even mentioned in the PCA? For that matter, why was Bethany even mentioned? Nobody believes a crime went down at the frat house, but they said Bethany saw Xana and Ethan at that party. Then they go on to Dylan not only heard crying, heard someone say someone's here, heard someone say I'm going to help you. The dog suddenly started barking. We've always heard this dog doesn't shed or bark, but that dog learned how to bark that night. So they mentioned both of them. So not only KDA, but many other people have been leaving comments saying, I don't think this is a positive identification. Now, there's many other things that lead us to say that Brian's our dude. Bushy wins the prize. But her seeing dark clothing and bushy eyebrows doesn't really hone it in. Catherine C. said, Dylan's testimony ties hand in hand with the latent shoe print found. I was wondering how that was going to work out. I had actually forgot about other cases and how they do it. When they took that bag of shoes out, the house in Pennsylvania is what I'm understanding, that shoe print outside of Dylan's door is going to have to match some shoe in his wardrobe or someone's. And we have brand new shoes, but then after we've worn our shoes for a couple of days, a week, a month, a year, they have to match it to the wear on the sole of the shoe. I'm not going to be surprised if the wear marks are the same as a shoe of Bushy's. Kat wants to know why a latent footprint and not a bloody footprint. That is an awesome question. Wouldn't it be a bloody footprint? Why did they have to use chemicals to find this latent footprint? That would be like a footprint I've got on my Kansas City Chiefs shoes right now. That would be like me walking across my kitchen floor right now. We have wood floors, and they would take those chemicals and say, "Well, we found this footprint, but it's not a bloody footprint. Where's all the bloody footprints?" Obviously, the probable cause isn't everything, but if you're looking for a slam dunk for the judge, wouldn't you mention a bloody footprint, not something you had to work to find? Not something that you had to use special chemicals to bring up? If you're trying to sail it home with the judge, wouldn't you mention a bloody footprint, not a latent? Nani says Dylan was known to wear Vans. It could have been hers. That's what I was thinking too. That's what I was thinking too. But why would Dylan's footprint outside her own door put Bushy at the scene? I think we have a conflict here. Conflict everywhere, right? Bama Skin, thank you for the super sticker, said, didn't even have a complaint with 150 people the night before. Isn't that odd there wasn't a noise complaint when they were having a party before? It seems like the noise complaints were sort of hit and miss. Sort of hit and miss. Claire Clark said, why was Dylan not fearful after he had left? Anyone would lock the door behind him for her own safety. Her story doesn't make sense. The police probably realize she's full of it, but she's a valuable witness. Well, the police are still investigating. The police are hands down still investigating, and good luck if you're a juror, because there's no way in hell that the DA is going to say, look, don't worry about the 8 hours. She froze in fear. She shut the door. And when things got going in the day, they called 911 around 11:58 from the yard. They're going to go, what? Well, what happened between 4 a.m. and noon? Of course, the jury's going to want to know that. They're going to want to know what the hell happened between 4:25 and when the call was made. If you look at the PCA, in quotes, it says frozen in fear. When you put something in quotes, it means, look, I'm not stating this as a fact. I'm just letting you know that's what she said. That's what he said. It's like the probable cause we read, the case out of Arkansas where the woman was abducted and they took her baby. She was pregnant. And the things that the accused was lying about were in quotes. This person that she said had done it, all of this was in quotes. So this frozen in fear put in quotes, I think is put in quotes purposely. None of Bethany's stuff is put in quotes. Where it says Bethany saw Xana and Ethan at the frat house, it doesn't have she saw them at the frat house and have saw in quotes. It's a statement. She saw them there. We know that she saw them there. But the frozen in fear, they can't say she for sure did. It's in quotes. It makes more sense to me now why they were so put off and they were so freaking weird when they were asked anything about the roommates. If it was just flat out, we're not going to talk about the roommates because we have someone on the loose and we have to protect them at all costs, everybody would have understood that. But they didn't do that. They could have easily said, we haven't caught this guy. We don't want to put them in danger. They're an inch away from protective custody as it is. We don't want to make it worse on them. They were fumbling their words. They were weird about it. Here's one clip real quick. Look at this clip.
Surviving female roommates.
Correct.
You have not ruled them out as suspects?
Correct. So let me clarify that. No one has been ruled included or excluded as a person of interest and or a suspect. Everyone is still being investigated.
Are they witnesses?
They are working and talking with detectives, and they have been cooperative, very cooperative with detectives.
ISP won't say.
That's all they would say. They've been cooperative. They're working and talking with detectives. And that's about the end of it. But when something is put in quotes, and I think they are very confident in Dylan's story, but not all of it. Not all of it. I really don't. They know, even though some people say don't worry about it, it's very common for this to happen. We're not worried about those people. We know that when this gets to trial, there is going to be a question as to why wasn't 911 called at 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30. We all know that even if 911 was called at 5:30, we'd all be saying, why did it take an hour to call? Why did it take an hour to call? It took 8 hours. Tear to Share is back said, I have a suspicion that the witness did not exactly see what she said. She did, and I'm sorry if I make people angry here. Nope, no one's angry. We have discussions here. What was described by law enforcement does not make sense for me. I just don't think she saw what she saw. So I might be very wrong here. I just don't believe that the killer would leave the witness unharmed. That is definitely one of the elephants in the room. You're there to do damage, big time damage, and you're there to get away with it. Someone lays eyes on you. They look right at you. You've got a knife in your hand. We know you do. You didn't tuck it behind your ear because your sheath is upstairs on Maddie. I don't want Dylan to get killed at all. You left an eyewitness. It's not like your mom was calling you for dinner. It's not like you had paid parking outside. A lot of people say, because he didn't see her. Look, the house is not Kanye West's house. It's not a mile-long hallway. How could she see him and him not see her? How could he not know that that door was cracked and she was looking right at him? I think he would be hyper-vigilant. Do you think he saw her? The only way this could add up is if he just flat out didn't see her. Or he came back at 9 a.m. and thought, I need to make sure that there's not a witness, going to try to get my sheath. Or he was there around 9 a.m. because he wanted to see if the police were there yet. I wonder how upset he was when he got there at 9 a.m. and saw that there weren't any police there yet. I've wondered about that myself. Mama Mia said, I feel bad for the Mad Greek, but how in the Lord can the Mad Greek lady know that Brian has never been there? Well, she can't. She's not there every waking second of the day. I think she's doing damage control. She does not want her restaurant tied to this horrific murder in the town. That or he did eat there, and at some point they're going to have to talk to a jury. And she just doesn't want to mess anything up for the families between now and then. Mama Mia said, I can believe that he wasn't a regular or never paid by credit card, but anything else, it's impossible. I absolutely believe she is a witness and trying to protect her business and employees. To say he's never been there is ridiculous. Now, it's one thing for the corner club to say, stop calling, guys. The suspect was never here. He didn't play darts. Never heard him yell, this round's on me. He wasn't at the pool table. He wasn't yelling, let's play friends in low places. Come on, guys, everybody together with me. He didn't sign up for karaoke. He wasn't ever here. Don't worry about it. Okay, that we can buy. But him not ever going to this restaurant that serves the food that he says he can only eat, that's a stretch. That's a far stretch. So she's either trying to protect her business or she does not want to mess anything up between now and when the case is. Like I said, she could capitalize on it easily. She could be like, this is Maddie's apron. Anybody want to take a picture with it on? Hey, some of these restaurants have done that. I'm telling you, tragedy breeds money for some of these places. It's a big deal. Shadow Dancer says, I believe there was a massive cleanup. A lot of people do. A lot of people do. All right, so conflict, I'm not going to say number one, but it's the talk of the town right now. Brian's attorney. His public defender used to represent Xana's mom. She had some drug charge going on. It's a small town, small area. I imagine the public defender they defend a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. It reminds me of my small town. You know, the public defender, it's like, hey, it's your turn. I got a DUI for you. Oh, hell, I just wrote a will for his grandpa. Are you sure you want me to do it? Yeah, it's not really going to matter. In this case, though, I think it might be a little bit bigger deal. What do you guys think? This isn't just a high profile case. To their own admission, when they sealed the search warrant, they said this case, it's not high profile, it's a notorious case. It's a notorious case. I also want to know how she got picked so fast. They had announced that Ann Taylor was his attorney before his ass even got back to Idaho from Pennsylvania. Remember the longest flight in the world? Took like 13 hours to get him from Pennsylvania to Idaho. They had already announced it. They didn't even have a hearing to appoint him an attorney. Remember, if you've been following the Delphi case, it was like 2-3 weeks in. And old dumbass Richard Allen writes a letter to the judge talking about how his wife got fired from the veterinarian clinic. I'm sure she did, because all the internet crazies were calling there and tying up their phone lines. He said, I'm currently not working. Well, no, you're not. The CVS has actually already rehired your position. You're in jail, dude. And then they set a hearing to get him an attorney. But they had an attorney for him before he even got there. I thought that was weird. I understand every county does things different. Every state does things different. That was weird. I'm wondering, did she volunteer? Did she say, I need this case? Let's face it, we know her name. A few weeks ago, we didn't know this woman existed. Okay, Fun to Ski said there's only 14 public defender attorneys in Idaho, and 2 are on the Vallow Daybell case. So we got 12. 12 public defenders. The judge doesn't have a problem with it, and from what I'm understanding, in order for her to no longer represent him, she would have to go to the judge and say, you know what? I forgot. I was flipping through the stations the other night, and on News Nation, they said that I have represented Xana's mom. There's a whole Facebook group saying that I shouldn't. So can you take me off this case? It might be a problem. The judge is probably going to say no. No, one has nothing to do with the other. Do you think it's a conflict or not? I think part of the reason that she was picked, or she possibly could have volunteered, is because of the death penalty element. The death penalty element. I found this article where they're talking about Brian getting the death penalty. We don't know if he will or not. And it says the death penalty is legal in Idaho, and 29 executions have been carried out in the state since 1864. If you live in Texas and Oklahoma, you know there's 29 executions about a year. So they don't use it that often. 29 executions have been carried out in the state since 1864. I got to take my overlay down. That was dumb of me. So you can see what I'm looking at. The last execution in Idaho was in June of 2012. Prosecutors have not yet announced that they will pursue the death penalty if Bushy's case heads to trial. However, a trial lawyer and former federal prosecutor, I don't know who this woman is, tells People magazine, boy, they're not staying out of it, are they? That it is very likely prosecutors will pursue the death penalty. She says, if you believe in the death penalty, this is a death penalty case. You have multiple victims. You have evidence of premeditation. You have a victim's family who wants the death penalty. So there's a lot of aggregating factors here. Prosecutors are elected officials, and there's going to be a lot of political pressure on them to seek a death sentence in a case like this. If she knows it, they know it. This lady is very much against the death penalty. So it wouldn't surprise me if she didn't raise her hand and say, I'll do it, as opposed to getting assigned. Because like I said, we're looking at the Delphi case. I know it's in Indiana. When he would go to court, they always have an attorney there to tell him what's going on. But he had to write a letter to the judge. My house isn't worth shit. I'm not working. My wife's not working. I need a public defender. Bushy had one before the plane landed. The ink wasn't even dry on them telling everybody this is his attorney. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Let's look at this news clip, what they say about it.
Into the Moscow murder suspect's legal representation. Even though she is representing Brian Koberger in Latah County, Ann Taylor is based out of the Kootenai County Public Defender's Office.
And she may have ties to at least one victim's family member before the murders. Krem 2's Janelle Finch joining us now to tell us what we know about Ann Taylor's client history. Janelle?
Idaho court filings show Ann Taylor's office previously worked with one of the victim's family members in Kootenai County. At this time, we do not believe it's relevant to share details of the charges or name the individual, but we did want to ask a law expert if Taylor's past could be a potential conflict of interest and what could happen next in court. Ann Taylor is the public defender assigned to Brian Koberger in Latah County. She normally works for Kootenai County, but the judge brought her in because of the high-profile case. We confirmed Taylor represented someone in 2022 with the same name as a murder victim's parent, but this connection doesn't surprise former criminal defense lawyer Mo Hammoudi.
There is nothing sinister or nothing untoward about learning about a conflict. It happens all the time in any public defender office. There are always potential conflicts of interest because the public defender's office represents large amount of members of society.
He says when this happens, the attorney has an independent obligation to address the potential conflict. Then the court makes its own determination.
What needs to be determined is what is the matter and what is the representation. So the cases have to be analyzed, the facts.
Okay, so this guy, he's just putting it out there. He's saying it's going to come down to this. What the hell does it matter? What does it matter that she represented Xana's mom and now she's representing Brian? I think the publicity, the notoriety, I think that does matter. Just my opinion. It's just my opinion. We don't even know that Xana's mom ever even really met with her, if you really want to know the truth. Not everybody in jail ever even meets their attorney. They might walk up to the bars and say, I'm going to put this in for you. Is that okay? Or they see him right before court. They catch him out in the lobby and say, this is what's going to happen in there. And this is how we're going to do it. It wasn't like she was fighting for her life, if you know what I mean. She wasn't going to be put in jail for 5, 10, 15 years. I mean, she's out. She's out. So he's saying, what does it matter?
Need to be analyzed, and then a determination needs to be made.
But whether it impacts the court process depends on what type of conflict there is.
There is what's called a concurrent conflict of interest, which means that at the same time, concurrent meaning at the same time. And that's where there's a significant risk that the representation of one or more clients will be materially limited by the lawyer's responsibility to another client, a former client, or a third person. And concurrent conflicts of interest can arise from the lawyer's responsibilities to a former client.
Hamoudi says this means a lawyer cannot use information relating to a previous representation to the disadvantage of the former client. Idaho court filings show Taylor represented the parent up until as recently as January 5th. On this day, Taylor signed an attorney substitution to take over those court proceedings. All this just one day after her newest client arrived to Idaho from Pennsylvania. Hamoudi says conflicts of interest can result in the judge appointing another attorney. At this time, he says it's too early to say if there will be any effect on the Moscow case, but the first indication of potential impact could be Taylor filing a motion to be relieved counsel of record. We have reached out to the Kootenai County Public Defender's Office for comment, but will likely not hear back due to the gag order.
Okay, and it said that Xana's mom didn't make her last court date. A lot of stuff going on with Xana's mom. Well, she's not representing Xana's mom anymore. She recused herself. She is not representing Xana's mom, but she did. And I see most of you think it is a big deal. It is a big deal. But if the judge has no problem with it, then what to do? I don't see how she can represent. I'm just saying this as a person, and I understand defense attorneys are wired a different way. As a person, though, she knew when she signed on, well, I say signed on, appointed to represent Xana's mom, she knew what was going on. She knew Xana's mom was in immense grief. So then how, as a person, she knows what's pointing towards Bushy. How does she even take this? I don't know. Lacey said, I see a conflict here. Let's just take a poll. Do you see a conflict with formerly, she's not representing her now, formerly being Kara's attorney, being a conflict? Simple yes or no. Oh, Jules is backstage and said yes. Mel says huge. It's meow or never says no. So we have one no. Most people say yes. D says no. Now put yourself in Bushy's shoes. Put yourself in his latent footprint. If you were Bushy, he's a criminologist, right? He was not too far away from being shoulder to shoulder with Coffindaffer on News Nation as an expert. Do you think he would have a problem with it? Or does this go to his advantage? Wouldn't he say, whoa, Anne, you represented one of the victim's parents? And now you're representing me? This doesn't work for my defense. Or do you think he's going to say, this works great for me? I wonder about that myself. Now, Xana's mom spoke to News Nation a couple of months ago. She called into the show. She was out of jail. I don't know what's going on with her case. It has to do with drugs. Thank you, Molly, for the super sticker. Very, very much. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. You have no idea how much that means. Thank you. She spoke to Ashley Banfield, who I'm sure Ashley Banfield is in big need of a vacation. Her mind has got to be spinning. It's got to be spinning. Wilhelm said, opinion doesn't matter for shit. It's not legally a conflict. We're having a discussion here. This is not a court of law. This is a court of people having a discussion about a case. And at 1 o'clock, we're going to have a discussion about another case. And then tomorrow, we're going to have a discussion about another case. We discuss amongst friends. We're very well aware that what we think is not going to have any bearing on how this case turns out. Anyhow, Kara, Xana's mom, spoke to News Nation. Let's listen to what she said. And remember, this is in hindsight. Her attorney is representing Bushy. It may or may not change your mind.
Kernodle's mom, Kara Denise Northington, is on the phone with me now. Kara, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Can I just ask you off the bat how you are getting by in this terribly sorrowful time?
Not very easily, not good. I mean, I don't know what to say to that.
I can't even imagine the pain that you and your family are going through. Have the police been helpful to you, Kara, to understand some of the things they can and can't say?
Honestly, no. Honestly, no. They haven't said anything. I learn more on the news and on TV than they have said to me.
Have you had a chance to talk with some of the other parents of the other 3 kids who were there that night and share information amongst yourselves?
Not really, honestly. I've just been dealing with my family, and we've just been absorbing this shock.
Can you tell me, Kara, what you do know about this terrible night?
Well, what I do know is not nearly enough. We need more answers. There is so much more that can be done that has not been done. And
okay, now mind you, this is before the arrest and extradition of Bushy. And I want to clear something up. I saw something, a couple of comments in here, someone saying we care about your opinion. I'm not saying at all I don't care about anyone's opinion. I'm just saying that I know that what I say on here isn't going to sway anything with a judge. Anyway, so this is Xana's mom, of course. She's upset. She's crying. It's my understanding, I don't know because I'm not friends with the family, I don't know them, that a lot of the information that she did not have at the time, had to do also with her own legal peril, if you know what I mean. So the police weren't real forthcoming with her, and she's not on the greatest of terms with Xana's father. So he wasn't really keeping her in the loop. So that makes sense to me. That's sad. It is, but she was in the dark compared to other family members.
I just know that there's GPS, NASA to find out who went into that home that night. I know that. Why hasn't that been looked into? Why hasn't that been accessed?
Can I, Kara, can I ask you that there is a mysterious sort of 4-hour and 45-minute block of time that's unaccounted for by the police timeline. The police say that your daughter Xana and her boyfriend Ethan were at the Sigma Chi house from 8 until 9 p.m., but then they don't have any information on where they were from 9 p.m. till 1:45 a.m. Do you know anything about that from either your information from the police or Ethan's family or anybody?
I may be candid in saying this, but I think that they were at a bar.
And where do you get that information from? Did someone tell you that?
Now, before this gets confusing, again, this was several weeks ago. This was before we even knew who Bushy was. We were still at this time talking about Jeremy and his DNA. She's saying, I think they were at a bar. Well, this has always been very confusing to me. There was a good week and a half, 2 weeks that they were saying we have 5 hours unaccounted for. 5 hours. We don't know where Xana and Ethan were. Aaron Snell with the Idaho State Police said they were seen at a frat party. Okay, then suddenly it's like, no, we know where they were. Now, this was well into the investigation. Here comes the probable cause, and lo and behold, Bethany was at the damn frat party. Bethany was there. Bethany is the one that said she accounts for the 5 hours. It just gets nuttier and nuttier. KDH, thank you for the super sticker, says Kara doesn't have the same last name, which they said. No, her last name is not Kernodle. Seems that when her and Xana's dad split the sheets, she said, I'm not a Kernodle anymore.
They'd gone from the Sigma Chi house to a bar before they ended up home?
That's what their father conveyed to me, that he thought that they were at the bar that night. So, yeah. I mean, that's what college kids do on the weekends. So.
But you don't know for sure that they left the Sigma Chi house, went to a bar?
Okay. I don't know for sure, absolutely not.
And have the police asked you any questions about where Xana might have been, or if she texted you, or if she had, if she'd communicated with any family members in that period of time?
No, no answers whatsoever. Really. I asked the investigators when they come and spoke to me. They were not able to offer me any answers. None.
Can I ask you, Xana's sister Jasmine has put such a beautiful tribute to Xana on her Instagram. And I wonder if she has any additional information, just perhaps from being able to access her sister's social media or her phone. Has Jasmine been able to ascertain any other details of what happened that night, or where Xana and Ethan were that night?
No, I'm not going to speak for Jasmine. You would have to ask her that yourself. And she says she's going through it right now without her sister, and I'm sure if she had any answers or any information, she's already conveyed that to the investigators.
Ashley Banfield is something else. She's been doing this, and I like her. Okay, I do. Not that it matters, but I do. She's been doing this for a long time. She knows that police, even when they're talking to victims' parents, they don't give them the information they're asking for. I see a lot. Let me find it. Here's the not the email. I don't need the email. I can't read it very good on the screen. Let me look at it on my phone. There's some confusion about who she represented. This is kind of blurry to me, so let me pull it up this way. Hang on. Well, that's not going to work either. It is Xana's mom. It says Kara. I know she uses a different name on Facebook, but it says Kara Kernodle. That's Xana's mom. I know there's a little bit of confusion as to who they're talking about, but it is Xana's mom. So like when she brought up Jasmine, she's like, you'd have to ask her. She's really going through it. It's just the word on the street, that they're not really in touch. That's all I can say. That's from my understanding. They don't really talk to each other that much, even with a tragedy in the family.
She says she's going through it right now without her sister, and I'm sure if she had any answers or any information, she's already conveyed that to the investigators.
May I ask you if you can confirm that Xana's room was on the second floor of the house?
Yes, I can confirm that. And
and was it on? Sorry?
I just had a question about the other two roommates who were there on the first floor, and I just wonder, wasn't something heard, or the surviving roommates that were there, they had to have heard something. They had to have the dog something.
Thank you for what.
Now, if you notice, when Xana's mom, she's really breaking down. She's really breaking down at this point. She's really upset. You want to hug her? You want the other families to reach out to her and bring her into the fold? Don't leave her on the outside anymore. We know she's going through some stuff. She talks about the dad changing the door locks. I don't know what door lock he changed. I have no idea. Some people think she's making it up. But when she gets to this last point and she says, the roommates had to have heard something. The dog had to have barked or something. She's speaking it. She's speaking the truth. And they cut her right off. They cut her off. Why would they cut her off like that? They're always poking the bear with Steve, but they cut her off. Look at this. Here they're showing the second floor, which we know now.
And was it on? Sorry?
I just had a question about the other two roommates who were there on the first floor, and I just wonder, wasn't something heard, or the surviving roommates that were there, they had to have heard something. They had to have the dog something.
The dog something. She said the first floor, and they cut her off. I would love to know, just out of my own curiosity, having a discussion, when were the families told that there was somebody else besides Xana and Ethan and the killer on the second floor. When she gave this interview, she had been told, you heard her say it, we're going to listen to it again. This interview really bothers me. This woman is in pure crisis. This is pure crisis mode, guys. This is raw. This is the worst she's ever been in her life. She said they were on the first floor. We know from the probable cause, Dylan was on the second floor, but she didn't know. I wonder when they told all the families that there was an eyewitness to the killer, not just in the house that slept through everything, which everybody was under that impression, because we heard other family members say they were on the first floor. She's under the impression as well. That's what they were told, that the roommates were on the first floor. I'm wondering when they told the families, no, Dylan was on the second floor. Dylan opened her door several times. Dylan heard Xana crying. Dylan heard this. Dylan heard this. Dylan heard that. Dylan froze. I wonder when that was told to them, because I think if it had been told earlier, I don't think Steve would have kept that to himself. Steve said that Madison and Kaylee were in the same bed. He would have definitely said there was an eyewitness on the second floor. They didn't know. And they should not have cut her off. She is her mother.
The house?
Yes, I can confirm that. And
And was it on?
I do.
Sorry?
I just had a question about the other two roommates who were there on the first floor, and I just wonder, wasn't something heard, or the surviving roommates that were there, they had to have heard something. They had to have, the dog, something.
Thank you for watching.
She wasn't prepared for her. She was, excuse me, what? She wasn't prepared for her to throw that out. She wasn't prepared for her to say, the roommates that were on the first floor, didn't they hear something? We spoke right after the PCA came out, and we said, imagine being one of these parents. Would you be okay with the 8 hours to call 911, or would you say to yourself, well, hell, if you heard all this, if you had called 911, somebody could have been saved. It's possible. If you heard Xana in there crying, I mean, I don't know. I think it's logical that people would be asking. I think it's logical. And I know some people say News Nation cut her off because she was crying. I don't think they cut her off for that. She was crying through the whole thing. She was crying through the whole thing. They love for ratings. They love for ratings. For people to lose it, especially when they're live. Tom, thank you for the super sticker. Tom said people get desensitized to noise in a party house. Maybe that's what Bethany's going to say, because Dylan not only heard things, Dylan woke up. I got Jules backstage. Let's see what Jules has going on. She has a really interesting theory for us. What's going on, Jules?
Hello, how are y'all?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, when you hit me with that last night, I'm like, wow. Very interesting theory. Let's just take a poll in the chat. We're not going to know anything until the preliminary hearing in June, and we're still not going to know close to everything until the trial. And the trial could be, 2 years away. It could be years away. And we may not even have a preliminary hearing in June. They might say, no, this came across, and so we're going to need to move it to September. We may not even have it in June. We know how these things go. We followed lots of cases. So we were talking about the Mad Greek the other day, and it was said by a former employee who talked to a reporter with People Magazine that Brian did eat there. Well, then we hear the owner say, no, he didn't. And a lot of people said, well, that could be the connection. He could have became infatuated with Xana, Maddie, or both. Probably Maddie, because if the order is correct, Maddie, that the judge read out, Maddie was the first victim. Then we've had people say, no, I think it was Ethan. I think he might have been at that frat party and got into it with Ethan. Then we have the police saying it's a miscommunication between them and the DA, that it might not even be a person inside the house. It could be the house itself. Then you came with your theory, and I was like, well, hell, go ahead, Jules.
My theory is that the police are the target. I think that he picked this, just saw these beautiful girls, started following, saw where they lived, made his 12 stops, whatever. And I think this was the police. The police are the target. Can you get me? Can you catch me? Can I get by with this?
Can I get by with this? That's really interesting because
Will I be exonerated?
Yeah, because he used the word exonerated. And the public defender in Pennsylvania made it very clear that that was his choice of words. His choice of words. This is really interesting to me because he just strikes me. I don't know him. As someone who considers himself a higher intelligence. I think he is smarter than a lot of people. He just didn't play his cards too well on the 13th. He wanted to be an Army Ranger. For some reason, he couldn't get into the Army. So he's got an issue with military, maybe. He met with, let me put the email up, before coming to Washington, he met with the Chief Jenkins in Pullman, about an assignment there. Well, we know he didn't get it, and it's mentioned in the probable cause. I was really scratching my head on that. I thought, why did they mention a job he didn't get? Why did he mention a job? Why did they mention a job he didn't get in the probable cause? Unless it's part of his motivation for these killings, they're thinking. Because remember, FBI behavioral science became involved in this case very early on. They don't need the FBI behavioral science unit for infatuation, drugs, sex, rock and roll, those things. Anyone can figure that out. Hell, me and my cat can solve those cases.
Go OJ.
Are you there, Jules?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
No, go ahead. You cut out for a second.
I said you go, OJ. I want OJ to help you solve crimes.
She tries. She tries.
She laying on your desk?
Nope, she's laying in bed. She's pretty lazy right now.
Yes, but I feel like he got denied from the military. He got denied from the police. And he's been denied his whole life and aggravated and picked on. And I just feel like this was his thing. He was going to try to outsmart him and exonerate himself.
Mm-hmm. Because the word exonerate, when I first heard that, I thought, exonerate?
Who uses that word?
Exonerate? American, I see you backstage. You can turn your camera off, hun. I think it's a really interesting theory because now it shows your device isn't connected. You'll have to get out and get back in. I think it's a really interesting theory because nothing else really fits. For one, Kaylee wasn't even supposed to be there. Ethan wasn't supposed to be there. Dylan was left alive. Bethany was left alive. Thank goodness. We don't want more murders. The to go to the house and kill somebody, I mean, he just moved there in August, from what we're understanding. In August. It takes some time to build up that type of resentment. Then you wonder, when they said, we think the house was the target. Well, people say, well, then why didn't he do something in Pullman? Well, if they think that the house was the target, the house is not in Pullman. But why didn't he pick a house in Pullman unless he thought he just didn't want to be that obvious? I don't know.
He didn't want it to be in his own town. He's already been to that law enforcement center that in Pullman and applied for that. So he would have to do it somewhere else where it would be through a different agency. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes sense. I love your theory. And it's a theory. It's just a theory, guys. We're not saying this is what happened. It's just a theory.
Yeah, it's just something I'm thinking maybe could have happened.
Well, hell, I mean, a month and a half ago, I kept telling everybody it could be a woman.
He's so smug, and I just get the vibe from him that he wants to show the police off. He wants to be exonerated. He wants to show them that he knows more than they do.
And that was the exact word he used, and the public defender in Pennsylvania made it clear this is his wording, not mine. It's not like the Athena Brownfield case, when Ivan said, I got to get to Oklahoma, I got to get this cleared up. Not saying that these two dudes are anything alike. Brian doesn't say, I got to get there and prove my innocence. I've got to get there and fight this. I got to get there, however you want to say it. He says exonerated, as if you would have like he's waiting for an apology. You would have the nerve to even accuse him.
Right.
And then when you think about the fact he was rejected by the Army, he wanted to be an Army Ranger. We know he didn't get the job in Pullman. Not only did he not get the job, for some reason, they put in the probable cause that he was trying to work with them. I thought, talk about throwing a wrench in here. What does this have to do with it? He didn't get a job, so he kills 4 people in Moscow?
That's what I think. I mean, I think it all built up. And he said that I'm going to show y'all that I can do this. I can be an investigator or beat the investigators.
Glenjamin said it's a chess game. It's a chess game for him.
It is.
And it's all weird. It's all weird. Every bit of it. Because like I said, he moved into his apartment, from what I read, in August. He graduated from DeSales in May. Where he was in June and July, I don't know. He got his phone in June, and it's a Pennsylvania number. It's a Pennsylvania number. So we know he didn't get the job. The probable cause said he didn't get the job. C-Star said, but he did get accepted to the PhD program, and that's not easy. She's right. That's not easy. So he definitely got that done. Makes you wonder why he was looking to go to Washington. Did he apply for any PhD work? I'm going to say work. That's the word I'm going to use. In the Northeast. And he was told no. Jeannie, thank you for the super sticker, said he was watching the house in June, so he couldn't have moved there in August. See, I don't see where he was watching the house in June, though. They said he'd been by the house 12 times, but they don't say month and date.
June 22nd. I thought they said June 22nd was the first trip.
The first time to the house? I just thought that he got the phone in June and that their warrant allowed them to go back to when he first got the phone, which was in June. I never saw any dates of when he was outside the house, so I can't help you there. If he started going by the house in June, I don't know.
I did see June's 22nd, but I do not. I don't know. Like you're saying, I don't know. I thought that was the day they said he started the first visit to King Road or whatever road. But
well, where is that at? Because it's not in the probable cause. Where does it say he started particular?
I'm saying you might be right. I'm probably wrong.
Well, no, I just know that the way it's worded, they got the warrant, and the way it's worded in the probable cause, he got the account through AT&T in June. So they got the warrant to go back to when he got the phone. And then they said they know that that phone was pinged in the area 12 times from when he got the phone. But it doesn't give me any dates. That's the reason. I mean, you could be right. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know when he was, I can't talk, specifically around the house. Katrina said 12 pings in that amount of time is not a lot. A lot of people say that. They're like, look, 12 times in a week is stalking. 12 times between August and November is not. 12 times between June and November certainly isn't. We do know he got a ticket at the end of August, and he moved into his apartment in the middle of August. I want to know what lured him to that house. Thank you for the super sticker, Hello Kitty. Thank you, my friend. I really do. What about this house was this? Is it because the house is so big? Is it because the house is kind of creepy? Some people say, and it's just their theory, it had to do with the towers around that area, that he's really been studying this. We don't know what's on his computer yet. Some people say it's because it looks like the house in Amityville, and November 13th is the anniversary of those murders. I mean, they're all good theories.
Yeah, they are. I don't know.
I think it's a really good theory, because I just think there's something way more to his motivation than somebody not messaging him back on Instagram, or somebody making fun of him when they waited on him at the restaurant. It's just got to be.
Yeah, absolutely. He's had so much rejection in his life, it seems to me. And when he wasn't rejected, his mom and daddy probably took care of him. But he's a smart man.
Maybe. And I have a question too. I've seen a couple people, the jury's not in on that yet. Had a couple people bring up the visual snow. I don't know enough about it. Christina might be able to help me. Can you have a regular driver's license if you have visual snow? A lot of people say he didn't see Dylan because of the visual snow. It could be. I don't know. Let's see what American Murr has to say. American Murr, you have some background noise.
Hi, what?
No, I think she has you have your YouTube app on, and you have some background noise going on. Jenny Rose says, when was his first social connect with any of them? I don't know, and I don't know that it really happened. I have no idea. People Magazine, they've been on a roll lately. They said that somebody close to the investigation said that he had direct messaged them, but it wasn't anything weird, and they just didn't reply to him, which is kind of odd to me, not only for their age, but just for the fact that they have a lot of people around them. They would be curious as to who the person is. So just to not respond to him at all seems unlikely to me.
Maybe they looked him up, his profile, saw him, and said, "Hey, look at them bushy eyebrows. I don't want to talk to him."
I don't know. That's just kind of weird. You know?
I would be like, delete.
I mean, he looks just like a normal person to me. I mean, to be quite honest. I mean, I don't think...
I'm just saying, as far as like attraction or good look. In my opinion, I wouldn't swipe, that's for sure.
Well, and there's this too, like Rye said, it's hard to get a notification if it's not one of the followers. They may not have got his message request. So we
Oh
don't.
yeah, that if he only follows them and they don't follow him, they may not even know who he is.
I mean,
That
I
may be why they didn't reply. Because they didn't know.
I don't know. I mean, I would think if they saw it and they knew that somebody was trying to connect with them, they would at least be curious as to who it is, but who knows? Could be. I don't know. I can't remember what his profile picture looks like either. If he even uses his own picture.
I don't either. I don't know either, but
I have no idea. Let's look at this clip real quick and let's see. Maybe American is connected now. American, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little bit better now. What are you thinking?
I think it's a lot of rejection that this poor man has faced. Not even poor man. I'm sorry, it takes a special kind of evil to murder poor people, but I think it's all rejection. And I think the military aspect of it was his way of trying to get into like special ops kind of thing.
Can you guys hear her okay? Because I'm struggling to hear her. There's a lot of background noise.
I'm at work.
She said,
whew. Hold on.
She thinks he's had a lot of rejection.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I am at work. I'm sorry. I work in a machine shop. I just think this guy has faced a lot of rejection, and one of the girls has rejected him. And I think if he wanted to get in the military and there was any time kind of mental health issues, he wouldn't have got in.
Yeah, and could he get into the military with the visual snow? I don't know anything about it.
I don't know if he could get into the military with visual snow. I was in the military. I had to go through a lot of physicals, a lot of eye checks. I don't know. I don't think he would have been able to get in.
So we have rejection there. He didn't get the job in Washington. They sent him an email. It was good to meet with you. He moves to Washington. They put it in the probable cause that he made the attempt. He didn't get the job. I still wonder. I don't really wonder now. It could be part of the motive. It makes sense.
Yeah. I just think it takes a special kind of evil to do anything like this.
It takes a special type of something. Good God. And to do it so quick. Doordash is there at 4 a.m. The dog wakes up. Dylan wakes up. He's out of the house at what, 4:25?
Yep.
4 people? Shit, maybe he was in such a hurry he did miss Dylan. I don't know. The latent footprint doesn't make any sense to me. If, like I said, if you're trying to sail it home with the judge, wouldn't you say there was a bloody footprint and it had his shoe print in it? They say latent. That's like what you'd find on my floor.
Right.
Because there's no bloody footprints around my house. Let's look at this clip real quick. Maybe this will help us a little bit.
Koberger is in jail in Idaho, awaiting his next court appearance, which will be in June. Tonight, new insight into how close he came to working for a department that would soon have officers investigating him for murder. Newly obtained documents show Brian Koberger, the WSU PhD candidate, who's now charged with 4 counts of murder. Once a finalist for a job within the Pullman Police Department. Koberger, who studied and taught criminology, was arrested by the FBI days before the new year, 47 days after 4 University of Idaho students were found stabbed to death.
The maximum penalty for this offense, if you were to plead guilty or be found guilty, is death or imprisonment for life. Do you understand?
Yes.
Probable cause documents revealed Koberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. That Koberger applied for an internship within the Pullman Police Department. Emails obtained by King 5 show that on April 1st, then WSU Police Chief Gary Jenkins is informed that Koberger was one of 4 finalists. The position? A doctoral-level graduate research assistantship for public safety. The job? Aggregate data from the Pullman Police Department and propose changes based on the interpretation.
I think nobody had any idea really of how close we were to the suspect.
Tonight, we've learned Koberger met virtually with Chief Jenkins. And then Koberger followed up with this email sent on.
Okay, so he didn't fly out there. He didn't meet him face to face. He just met with him virtually. Because I'd be extra pissed off if I flew all the way out there to be told, nope, you might be smart and all, but this is not for you.
Suspect.
Tonight, we've learned Koberger met virtually with Chief Jenkins. And then Koberger followed up with this email sent on April 12th. It was a great pleasure to meet with you today and share my thoughts and excitement regarding the research assistantship for public safety. Best regards, Brian. 8 months later, he'd be in custody, soon to be charged with 4 counts of murder.
We're all of us hoping he'll just confess so that this nightmare can end.
So, Sebastian, you said that interview for that job happened months ago. Did he get the job?
Well, it's interesting because after his arrest, he was never named as a police department employee. And we reached out to the then chief about if Koberger had been offered the position. And he said he has to check with lawyers before getting back to us. And that comes as part of a bigger issue. There's this gag order on the case placed by a judge, one that's far broader than what we've seen in the past. There are now 20 media outlets, including King 5, that are challenging that gag order because the interpretation is that it is too far reaching.
Interesting. You'll keep us posted. I know.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Okay, they got to check with the lawyers. They got to check with the lawyers because the probable cause did not allude to that he got that job. That'd be something else if he really was working there. Because I saw a comment that said, we don't know that he didn't get the job. The way that the probable cause worded it, it seemed that he didn't. But now, C-Star said clear as mud. Now, there was some sort of, I'm just going to say experiment, and I don't want to say this wrong. I'm probably going to say it wrong, where in Pullman, they were going to be watching body cam live, but Moscow wasn't part of that program. Yet the murders were in Moscow. I don't know. Anything to add, Jules?
No.
I don't think they would say whether he got it considered for it. I don't think they would say anything. If they say, hell no, he was too weird for us, well, that's going to fuel online speculation. If they say, yeah, he worked here for a little bit, well, we know what that's going to look like.
Yeah, I think they better just be quiet.
Probably a good idea. Probably so. Well, if it makes anybody feel better, this came out a little while ago. This isn't anything brand new for sure, but I'd been looking at it. I hadn't had a chance to go through it. This guy tells you all about how uncomfortable Bushy is in the jail. Let's go through this before I shut this down. Don't forget, there's another show at 1 o'clock. This guy is a real freaking goofball.
I haven't seen this one.
Whenever you're laying down, somebody of my size, your head's touching one side of the wall and your feet are basically touching the bars. It's very short. It's very short in there.
It's very short. It's very short in there. Basically, he's telling everybody it's no Hilton. It's no Four Seasons or whatever you call it. It's not the best accommodations for him. I don't know why this guy is cracking me up.
If you sleep with your head by the toilet, it smells foul. It's horrible. If you sleep with your head on the other side, all you get is bright lights. So, I mean, it's uncomfortable in there, to say the least.
I think there's one description you also said that if you decided to sleep, and we've got a diagram up on the monitor here where you can see the toilet is at one side of the cell and the bars are at the other side and the bed runs the length. If you decide not to sleep with your head next to the toilet and you choose to sleep with your head next to the bars, did you say that the other inmates can actually reach you, can reach through the bars and do something to you?
Yeah, so that could be a possibility. I have only ever heard of that happening. I didn't have it happen to me.
Oh, dear God. Is this what Banfield has stooped to? Somebody can reach through the bars and wake him up? Tickle him in his sleep? What are they going to do to him? They're not going to let anybody hurt him. Just like in the Athena Brownfield case. They said, Alicia, she got her ass beat in jail. She even had to get medical attention, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, are you telling me that the state of Oklahoma kept Timothy McVeigh safe, but you're telling me that they let them get a hold of Alicia? What are they going to do to him? How long are their arms? They'd be crazy to let anything happen to him.
It is
crazy.
This is kind of funny.
Like I said, what they do? Tickle him? I heard you like to be tickled.
But the fact of the matter is Koberger won't have anybody in that hold with him with the charges that he has. It's extremely serious. They wouldn't take it lightly and put anybody else in danger.
No one else is in danger with his ass in the jail. I guarantee he's making it sound like it's the jail like in the Andy Griffith Show, where you can pass a cigarette between cells. They're cement walls. They're cement block walls. This is not 1955, where the jailer walks up and he's got a bunch of keys on his ring and he falls asleep at the desk and they get the keys off the belt and they let everybody out. Oh my goodness. She knows better than this.
So when we look at the diagram and it looks to be several cells all next to each other, and then sort of a common area with a metal table, and there's a TV, I believe, in that common area. That does not depict the maximum security area. Is that correct?
No. So if you look from where it says main gate to maximum security, the moment you walk through that gate, you are in the maximum security hold. Then right there in front of the main gate.
Maximum security hold in Moscow, Idaho? What are we listening to here? It's not the state prison. I'm sure they have him to himself. I'm sure he's isolated. They wouldn't let anybody tickle a hair on his head. No way. Remember the case in Cleveland, Ohio? The 4 girls had been kidnapped, held against their will for 10 years. That guy was not being watched. He killed himself. And I'm telling you, people flipped out that they let that happen. They want them alive. They want them to serve their time. There's no jailhouse justice. It might sound funny to talk about it like, ha, 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 ha. Oh, he got his ass beat and everything. No, we want him in front of the judge. We want him in front of the judge.
Gate. There is a gate through that barred off corridor. Where the TV is, that's where the guards would always be. The inmates would be on the other side of there. So all of that is the max security area.
And it looks as though there's a camera pointing into each of those 4 cells. So, and again, just to be clear, those 4 cells that I'm looking at, were those all 4 maximum security cells?
Yes, they are. So if there is 4 inmates in there at any given time, they will all be locked into each one of those cells for the duration of their sleep. Or if they all are, if they're all confined to their cells for periods of time, they will be let out one at a time for their.
If they're confined to their cells for a period at a time, it's called jail, dude. It's not timeout, it's jail. You are confined to your cell unless it's time to go play basketball with the inmates.
Or wash your booty.
Or you get a sliver of soap and a squirt of cold water. That's what they call a shower. Phantasmic, thank you for the super sticker. Said, I envision the jail set up in Blazing Saddles. That's what I'm talking about. You can reach from cell to cell and do what? Jerk each other off? What are you talking about? No, you can't. Good God.
Direct time. Yeah, so there's different ways they go about holding inmates in there, but usually, more often than not, a murderer would be in there by himself with nothing but his thoughts.
And at this point,
a murderer would be in there by himself with nothing but his thoughts. Sounds like the Shawshank Redemption. God, he's painting me a picture, is he not?
It's accused murderer. I do want to ask you about the 23-hour lockdown that you said would be the standard protocol for somebody accused of rape or murder, which is the segregated area. Did you say that on occasion they forget about that 1 hour, that the guards get busy and that the inmates don't even get that 1 hour out to stretch their legs?
Okay, so to be clear, I what I had said is there is a possibility of 23-hour lockdown for him. If he isn't locked down 23 hours, then yes, legally he is supposed to have an hour of rec time, no matter what, every day. The jail is usually overcrowded, and there's not enough staff to be able to get everybody in and out for their hour of rec time. So you either get it or you don't. I mean, it's pretty hit or miss.
You either get it or you don't. You see, there's a reason that they keep the boys separated. It gets real sweaty around there if they let them have access to each other. They're not all about playing WWE in there. They got other needs to meet, if you know what I mean. And if you either get it or you don't, what the hell is he talking about? If you get your hour of rec, you get your hour of rec. So if he's supposed to be isolated, his hour, which I have a feeling his hour of rec has to be, it's probably on the phone with his lawyer and his 1 minute shower. Boy, give him a job at the jail. He looks like a relative of Jeremy's. Does he not look like Jeremy to you a little bit? I'm not saying it's Jeremy. I'm just saying they look a little alike. My God.
So I doubt that their priority.
Sure. I also would ask you about the rusty conditions, because there's some pictures that were put out publicly of the jail that didn't look too bad, but that might be one area of the jail. The area of the jail that you remember, the max security part, not quite so fancy, as you describe it, very rusty, very old. Give me a bit more of a feel for that.
Yeah, so the pictures that are depicted online, those cells are general population areas. And the governor was coming, so they dressed it up. They painted just before those pictures were done. They had inmates paint them for things like coffee. The maximum security side, though, I mean, the paint is all chipped off. It's rusty. The drains are full of nasty filth. It's mildewy in there. The ceilings are extremely short. It's just a small claustrophobic metal box, and it's not fun.
It's not fun. Well, because it's a college town, they normally put people in the drunk tank. Then their parents send some money the next day and they go back to Greek Row, you idiot. They normally don't have quadruple murderers in there. had the inmates, splash some new paint on there for the governor, because they don't want more money to fix it up. They want to appear that everything's good there. This guy's an idiot. They want it to look as bad as possible when the governor gets there, so they get a fat check.
I mean, it's not fun. It's no way for anybody to live who's reasonable. But the thing is that Latah County does the best that they can with the funds that they have. So it is not their fault. I'm not trying to put any blame on the county or anything for like that. It's just the sad reality is it's not a very fun place at all. And he's exactly where he deserves to be through the duration of this trial. So the public is safe if he indeed is a murderer or not. He's just
I'm glad you
he's in
said
a
that.
very secure place.
Thank you for watching.
Oh, you're welcome, Ashley. I wouldn't have missed that for the world. What the hell was that about? You don't need fresh paint to make a pretty jail. It's the people inside of it, right? It's like a home. It's what matters is the people inside. Let's see what Catherine has to say. She's never been on panel before. Let's see what she has to say. Hi, Catherine.
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good, hon. What are you thinking about all this? This is a crazy case for sure.
Yeah, man, it's definitely crazy. I just wanted to comment on him being rejected from like the military and the big question mark of why he didn't get accepted into the Pullman Police Department. And I did a little bit of research, and dating back to like 2020, I know the Army does something called, it's a non-cognitive exam. It's called the Tailored Adaptive Personality assessment system. And it's a 120 question personality test. So if he is what we speculate he is, and in one of the personality disorder, like in that category, right, being sociopath, narcissist, or psychopath, etc., he probably didn't pass that. And then I went on the Pullman Police Department website, and it, like, under the hiring process on their website, like step 4, the chief holds an interview for the top candidates. And so we know that happened, but then step 5 is a thorough background investigation. And part of that background investigation is drug screen, medical exam, polygraph, and a psychological exam. So I'm just speculating and just using, logic and common sense that more than likely he just didn't pass these exams that have to do with his personality and the psychological aspect.
So he figured if I can't join and do what I want to do, I'll go into teaching it. I'll get my PhD and write a book, be a professor, which, by the way, is an awesome, awesome job. Seems like he was harboring a lot of resentments.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. And this could tie into, well, let me commit this quote unquote, I don't want to say perfect, but I think to him, I think he did things on purpose, maybe even left the sheath on purpose, just to show maybe like he can outsmart them, or haha, you think you have me, but watch, I'm going to use the justice system to my advantage, and I've done just enough to cause reasonable doubt, and you're always going to want me, imprisoned, but watch how I get myself off. You know what I mean?
Think about how he said it. Exonerated.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I think he did things purposely. I think he wanted to get caught, but I think, and it sounds weird, right? But I think he wanted to get caught. He knew he was going to get caught, but it's a game to him, and he wants to show how smart he is, how much, like, how these tests don't define me. I'm better. You know what I mean? Like, you missed out on a good thing, and Watch how I did just enough to cause reasonable doubt in a jury and get myself off. And
Exactly.
you're going to hate me as much as I hate you, but you will never be able to do anything about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's his form of revenge. That's
Right,
what I
right,
think.
right. Right. That's, yeah, I agree.
No, it's definitely making more sense to me because, like I said, they don't need the FBI behavioral science unit to study a jilted lover or a trap house, as some people are saying. It was a known drug house. Well, if it was a known drug house, how come every time they came there for a noise complaint, they didn't say, "Got any drugs in here?" I know what you guys have going on here. They're talking to kids, for God's sake. They're not mincing words with kids. They don't care. They're not high profile politicians. They're going to say, "I know you have drugs around here. Next time I come out here, we have reason to believe there's drugs here. I'm going to come back with a warrant. You guys need to clean
And
up."
we're coming to search.
Yeah, next time we're coming to search. Turn this shit down. Let me ask you this, Catherine. Do you think, this is just our theory, we're just having a discussion here. Do you think all those noise complaint calls could have come from Bushy, or do you think that was literally neighbors? And let's remember, the neighbors are college students too. Or do you think he was making those calls? I think he was studying their response time.
Yeah, and that would make sense, right? I mean, that'd be the smartest thing to do to see how quick they respond, right? How neighbors or the neighborhood, how even the roommates react to police being there, whether they, either they, you know, um, act responsibly and come and talk to the police, or they hide, right? Which is, he already knew that they would run and hide because they've had a history of hiding when the police came, right? And so, and I don't think this has anything to do with drugs. I think this has to do with how do these kids react and respond when they're in a state of fear, just in general, right? Fear, obviously, you're afraid when the police show up, you're afraid of getting in trouble. The same way you would be, not on the same level, but fear nonetheless, the same way you would be if you saw a mass killer walking around in your house, killing your roommates. You're going to react the same way. You're not going to react a different way, more than likely.
I think it's a really interesting theory. I go back to what Ryan Christie said. She said, "How come there was not a call on November 13th? There obviously was a hella noise going on. The dog started barking. Dylan woke up. Dylan not only woke up, she opened her door 3 times and decided, I'm not going out into that mess." The neighboring camera picked up the audio. They know that. It's in their probable cause.
Yeah, I mean, it's, man, that's weird.
Go ahead.
And I think like even his route going home and then going back that morning and then all that whole day after, it's so weird. Like, I think that ties into, he did so much. It's almost like hard to track every single step that he took without using major resources. And then he kept crossing the state line. He kept going from Idaho to Washington to Idaho to Washington to Idaho to Washington. And then even within Idaho, going to different counties in Idaho, Washington, going to different counties in Washington. So you're talking about, and if he's I mean, usually police agencies, uh, from county to county, and we saw this in the Kylie Rodney case, right?
Mhm.
They don't necessarily work well together. That's not their strongest suit, right? And so I think he knows this is a vulnerability, or he kind of took this to his advantage. They don't work well together, county to county, state to state, these police departments. So he's like, it's gonna be it's going to be impossible for them to track every single step because something is going to get, it's like a phone, the game of telephone. Something is going to get lost along the communication process. And so something's going to fall in the cracks. And that something falling in the cracks is what's going to cause that reasonable doubt. You know, I think this was very well planned out. Do I think he's a genius? No, I think he just knows how to take advantage of people's weaknesses, just like sociopaths do.
I think as it stands right now, there's a lot of reasonable doubt. I'm, of course, like everybody else, really anxious for the preliminary hearing in June because they're going to have to prove, look, that's not all we got. We have a lot more to go forward. If not, they'll turn his ass loose. If they show up in June and all they have is what they have in the probable cause, which, by the way, still makes my jaw drop, we're not going to be having the same conversation in June. I just really, of course, the motivation I want to know about. Some people say it's a thrill kill. It's a thrill kill. Well, he left 2 people there. If he's been watching that house, he knows who lives there. He knows who lives there. Let me ask you girls this, and let me ask everybody in chat, because it was a really interesting comment by 2 Boston moms. Do you think he ordered the DoorDash, or do you think Xana really ordered it at 4 a.m.? I mean, let's face it, after a night of drinking and whatever else, you're going to be hungry. It's just a lot of coincidence for 4 a.m. for me.
Yeah, if he...
I think she ordered it. I think it got there and she got it. I think she went to her room and she shut her door and ate her food while he was upstairs. And then he came back downstairs and she was putting her stuff in the kitchen, going back to her bedroom, and he realized they were awake or whatever. Xana and Ethan.
Glenjamin said the thing that supports this being a game on his part is the turning on and off his phone multiple times. He knew he had it, yet there are large gaps of phone off, missing time as well. We have a huge conflict of time. Conflicts Everywhere is the name of the show. Not just who his attorney has represented in the past. We have a huge time conflict. Bethany said that she can account for Xana and Ethan being at the party. Bethany got home at 1:45. Where was Xana and Ethan for 45 minutes? So we have 45 minutes. We don't know where Xana and Ethan were. Okay, we have 8 hours. We don't know what the hell the roommates were doing. Also, multiple people knew about this before the police did. Look at what the chief said when he was asked about the friends. The look on his face is telling. Look, watch his face.
Yeah.
Can you clarify that?
That blows my mind. Like,
There was other friends that had arrived at the location. Honestly, I'm not quite sure at this time, to be quite honest.
Do you guys have any idea if the killer...
The look on his face, his eyes bug out. He goes, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure at this moment. There was a lot of people there. They said in another news conference, they said when they called 911, it was chaos. Multiple people spoke to 911. I don't believe for a minute that everybody stood out in the yard. I don't believe for a minute everybody was out in the yard and that nobody walked in that house. No way. Let's see what Alma has to say. Hey, Alma, welcome.
Hi, Brooks. Good morning. Well, I've been listening to to your show, and I was thinking with the theory that Brian did the calls to 911. Don't you think that would be very easy to verify with the telephone number?
Oh, sure. Oh,
and
sure.
Yeah, and also the time frame. Like you know how his telephone pinged 12 times in the area. I was wondering if those 12 times they were the same times that the calls were made.
I would love to know. I would love to know.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I was thinking, and just a couple of questions that I had.
I would love to know. It really, for some reason, it just really kind of bugs me that the noise complaints all go to the house on King Road. The entire street is known as Greek Road. They're all college students. I mean, college students normally don't call the police on each other. You know, were the Golden Girls living in the apartment next door that they were bothered by the music? Who would be calling about noise when they're all college students?
Exactly. So, but I'm pretty sure that if he did make the calls, Ellie can verify that with the phone number in the recordings of the 911 call.
Oh yeah, they'll look at all the calls he's made. They'll look at all the calls he's made. But when you call 911, they already know who's calling anyway. That's going to be simple for them to pull up. I'm sure when they realized there was noise complaints there, that might have been one of the clues that led him to him. They just didn't put it in the probable cause. Just my thoughts. I'm not saying that's what happened.
Yeah, we just have to wait and see what happens for the preliminary.
Yep, in
And,
June. In June, we have the prelim and my birthday.
and if he did make the police calls and when they pull that and they see it, just imagine how sick they're gonna feel as like you want to talk about like the ultimate game of predator and prey, and a hunter, hunting, um this and this is what he did, and this was very strategically planned, and he was studying even the police department, their movements, how they respond, how they operate. It's going to make them feel just sick. Like, it's going to make them feel vulnerable. It's going to make them feel stop. I mean, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine like what they would feel like as a department. Like, this dude was watching us. He was literally, like a predator, just like waiting in the bushes, waiting to attack. And he attacked the
Well,
entire town. That's
the entire
crazy.
town, yeah, if you really want to put it that way. And if he truly had been going by the house 12 times, which is not a lot of times, between June and November, well, then who's the target? Because not all four of them were living there in June. Not all four of them were living there in July. So who's the target?
I mean, the house, possibly,
That's what the
perhaps.
that's what the police said, but that was a month ago. I imagine a lot of stuff has changed in the last month.
Yeah, but
Because
think this is a house right on the board again. Him with this border crap he's got going on, right? It's not on campus. It's just outside of the campus boundary, right? To where it's not on the university property, but it's still tied to the university, but it's outside. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's that he has this weird thing going on with going across just the fine lines, going across the boundary, and then making the communication process that much harder,
Mhm.
right? Man, I mean, just I'm talking about like sociopath to the highest degree, because that's what they do. They they catch the weaknesses, and that's what they prey on.
Glenjamin has a really good point too. Did he really go by the house 12 times or did he ping that tower 12 times? I need to go look at the PCA again. I mean, geez. I got to go I have to look at it again because my mind is blown. Just Samantha said the shopping was better. His receipts prove it. I think when he said the shopping was better, I think he was talking about what he did. I think he was being a smartass. I think that was just, he thinks he's being cute. He's being cute again.
And that'd just be, and it even would play on the kind of like, you know, how people with personality disorders, they can only mimic what they see other people, like how they would respond, how they would react, what they would say in certain situations. And I think this is something it's like, yes, he was talking about a different form of shopping, but also it's like a double whammy because also at the same time, it's like most people who live in Pullman, but they're going to Moscow to shop or Moscow, people would be like, well, why do you go there to shop? Well, the shopping is better, right? That's like a common thing, like a normal person would say. But to him, of course, to him, yeah, the shopping was better, right? But his shopping was something else. But he's still mimicking what the normal person would say, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's trying to look normal, but let's face it, this is a guy that killed 4 people in 25 minutes as far as the PCA is alluding to. Just Samantha said, I'm not convinced, Brooks. I need more. I've been reading how Maddie was not very kind to Dylan. Way too many holes are opening up. You know it, girlfriend. Well, there's a lot of stuff that has not been answered, and it's not going to be answered for a couple of years. We got 8 hours missing. 8 hours missing. We've got 45 minutes missing. Bethany said she saw them at the frat party, but she got home at 1 a.m. There's 45 minutes missing. What was going on for 45 minutes? Did they just hang back at the party? We don't know. We don't know. If Dylan opened that door, I brought this up one day, and there was a few people that got upset. What Dylan may not have even gotten along with her roommates. She might have been like, I don't care that Xana's crying. She just shut the door. If you look at the PCA, they put it in quotes. She froze. They put it in quotes. It's not stated as a fact. Bethany seeing them at the party is not put in quotes. They didn't put, she said she saw them at the party in quotes. It just clearly says she saw them there. I don't know. Lots to discuss, lots going on. Catherine, I appreciate you coming up. You had great comments and great points.
Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me up. Have a good day.
Don't ever be shy. Grab the link. I pin it quite a bit.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good day. God bless.
Man, guys, this was a great show. We were really had a lot going on, man. I know a couple people got mad at me. I got called the C word. That's all right. I don't know why that guy got so upset, but really, we're having a discussion here. So there's really no point in telling anybody what you say doesn't matter. What you say doesn't matter. We're just having a discussion. There's some people that don't think Brian did this at all. They think it points otherwise. Otherwise. And there's some people that are like, nah, they got him. Look at this, look at this, look at that. What we do know is that this is just the tip of the iceberg, and more and more and more is going to be coming up. Coming out. So we have another show in 2 hours. Please come back. We have a special guest coming on to discuss, was it murder? Was it suicide? With Alana Raffield. Everything seems to point to murder, but the powers that be in Prague, Oklahoma seem to say no. They will not investigate it any further than a suicide. You guys will see what I'm talking about at 1 o'clock Central Time. You guys are the absolute best. Again, thank you for being in here today. Thanks for being in here yesterday morning. Your support to Brandy Neal, Monkey Vaughn's mother, was awesome. That was awesome. She needed that, and that story's got to keep going. It's got to keep going. Just Samantha said, I've been thinking about coming up on panel during the week. Girlfriend, don't ever be shy about coming on this panel. I'm telling you what, when I say it, I mean it. This is the best community on YouTube. I mean, Jules came up today and said, I think the police are the target. That's her theory. People weren't in here going, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard, Jules. You know it was Kaylee. You know he was after Kaylee. No, we listened to each other and we're like, good point. I see where you're coming from. None of us have the case file. Don't ever worry about grabbing that link and coming up. I don't bite and I don't tickle. I'm not going to tickle you, Samantha, or any of you. All right, guys, I'll see you back here at 1 o'clock. You're the absolute best. See ya in a minute.